So we've been talking about diversity and inclusion and the importance of role models in the success of this. Um, would you say there's a difference between role models and leaders?
I maybe I would start with a little question for reflection for all of us. So if you think about the time, did you ever had a boss or a supervisor or a leader who you also considered as your role model? So this is maybe something to think about. And if you had such a person, I would consider you're very lucky. Um, and maybe we can further think about what were these persons' qualities that combined leadership with being a role model.
Mm,
But if you ask myself, as you know, my work and my passion lies with diversity and inclusion. So I'm speaking from this angle now. If we go into the formal definitions, yes, for me, there's a very clear difference between being a role model and a leader.
mm,
So as you know, I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and growing up, I realized very early as a kid about the importance of having a role model, especially in the homosexual and the gay world.
mm.
So role models are individuals whose attitudes and values and whose behaviors are admirable for imitation. But this relationship doesn't really have to be very close between the role model and the admirer. So this can be also a celebrity, this can be somebody you've seen in the news, but it's this person who you would like to imitate. So for me back then, it was the role models' value systems were for me the admirable things,
Mm,
which is like confidence or that they showed a certain resilience. So for
yeah.
me, this is a role model.
Mm. I think that's a really important distinction because I've been looking at it, the idea of stereotypes and ways to help address those, and role models have a part to play in that. And typically, they are framed as the leader or people, senior people in the hierarchy. Um, so I think that's very interesting that you bring it to, it could be anybody who can sit as a role model.
Yeah, and this is for me the difference then also to a leader, because leaders are individuals who use their influence and their knowledge or skills in a work environment or in a political environment to direct the work of others and then to achieve a mostly common goal. So for me, leaders in that sense do not have to be necessarily role models.
And I think that's particularly interesting because I think in the leader as the Swiss Army knife of everything. I do think there's a perception that role model is just part of that equation. I think what you're saying is it can be an aspect of the work of a leader. However, and I'm thinking organizationally, that means, and it could be on a board, anybody could be a role model,
Mm.
um, and serve a benefit and have a good impact. Um,
Yeah,
I
and
wonder if,
mhm.
sorry, carry on.
No, I did some research on transgender professionals and organizations, and my research concluded very clearly the importance of having role models in your organization, because then you feel a lot more. So, if you're a member of a minority group, like I take the transgender now as an example, you are looking for somebody who shares your value system in the organizational sense.
Mm,
So it has been proven that organizations who have visible role models are very successful in embracing diversity and inclusion, because these role models then give the safe space and the understanding to the people you're trying to bring into your organization. So the next step to think about role models and leaders is what I'm looking at in one of my articles, is to talk about role model based leadership styles in difference to the normal, which we call transactional leadership styles.
mm,
And there also, if you have a role model leadership style, it's very different from the classical transactional, very hierarchical, very goal-based, very structured style. So there we come back to maybe what you said before, stereotyping and the importance of values in organizations and within people.
And I think what that makes me wonder is how an organization thinks about role models. I'm not sure I've really heard about the idea of it being something that one could engender, can't think of the right word, one could actually promote as a thing that one can do across an organization, and whether that's something that might be part of the diversity and inclusion activity.
For me, what I've seen is coming back to the value system of the organization as well. So if you have people in your organization who have the values of role models, which are mostly based on honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, caring about other people, respect, I think then it will be quite natural. Then the leadership styles you are embracing are quite natural then in the organization. Where in the classic transactional leadership, the main value is mostly based on loyalty to the team or to the leader, but does not really look at these feelings rather than thinking, I would say. So these are the qualities of leaders who follow role model based leadership styles. They feel more than they might think.
Well, it definitely feels like it's part of a new style of leadership that one's hearing about in sort of from different perspectives, different takes on the similar kind of thing of how one can integrate emotions into something which classically hasn't really, leadership and emotions haven't really been that closely aligned. But I think, Xaver, what that's let me realize is role models are a much more multifaceted idea, and to let me think about the fact that it's not just something to do with hierarchy. The person at the top is the role model, but it's about values in an organization and people being able to say, I could be a role model for the organization, irrespective of where I am in the hierarchy. So thank you for that. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Welcome. Thank you.